On a quiet summer night in Springfield, three women went to sleep in a peaceful suburban home. By morning, they were gone. No signs of struggle. No broken doors. No screams heard in the night. Their cars were still parked outside. Their purses were still inside the house. And their beds looked as if they had been slept in. It was as if the three women had simply disappeared. What happened inside that house during the early hours of June 7th, 1992 would become one of the most haunting unsolved cases in American history. Investigators would later give the case a chilling name: the Springfield Three disappearance. The home belonged to Sherrill Levitt, a 47-year-old single mother who worked as a hairdresser. Friends described Sherrill as warm, friendly, and generous. Her home was often a place where people felt comfortable stopping by, a place where laughter and conversation were always welcome. Living with her was her daughter, Suzie Streeter, an energetic 18-year-old who had just graduated from high school. Suzie was known for her lively personality and her close group of friends. One of those friends was Stacy McCall, another recent graduate. Stacy was thoughtful, kind, and deeply loved by her family. The two girls had been celebrating one of the biggest moments of their young lives: graduation. A night filled with excitement, dreams, and plans for the future. They had no idea that the night would become the last time anyone would ever see them. Springfield was filled with celebration. Families gathered for graduation ceremonies. Students laughed, hugged, and talked excitedly about their futures. Suzie and Stacy spent the evening visiting friends and attending graduation parties. At first, the girls planned to stay overnight at another friend's home, but the house was crowded. So, sometime after 2 a.m., they decided to go to Suzie's house instead. It seemed like a simple decision, just a change of plans, a quiet place to sleep after a long night of celebration. They arrived at the home on East Delmar Street in the early hours of the morning. Inside, Sherrill Levitt was already asleep. Nothing appeared unusual. Nothing suggested that anything was wrong. But sometime between 2 a.m. and sunrise, something happened. Something that caused all three women to vanish. Later that morning, friends of Suzie and Stacy stopped by the house. The girls had plans that day and weren't answering their phones. When the friends arrived, they noticed something strange immediately. The front door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal. The television was on. Lights were still on, in parts of the house, and inside the living room, all three women's purses were sitting together, including their car keys. That was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. No one leaves their house without their purse, especially not three women at the same time. Outside the home, near the front porch, there was broken glass on the ground. The glass cover from the porch light had been shattered. At the time, it didn't seem important. Friends simply cleaned it up and threw it away. But later, investigators would realize that broken light might have been an important clue. It might have been part of a struggle, or a signal, or something the attacker accidentally broke. But by the time police learned about it, the evidence was gone. While friends waited inside the house, something unsettling happened. The phone rang. When someone answered, there was only silence. Then, strange noises. Before anyone could respond, the caller hung up. A short time later, the phone rang again. Another disturbing call. Again, the caller hung up. Quickly. Police later believed these calls may have come from the person responsible for the disappearances. But because the calls were not traced immediately, that possible lead vanished. When police arrived, they searched the home carefully. What they found was deeply confusing. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken doors, no broken windows, no signs of a violent struggle. Beds looked slept in. Clothing was still in the house. Everything appeared normal. And yet, 3 women were gone. For investigators, one question quickly became clear. How could someone remove 3 people from a house without waking neighbors, without leaving evidence, and without anyone seeing a thing? Over the years, investigators considered many possibilities. One theory suggested the women may have been lured outside. Perhaps someone knocked on the door, late at night, someone they trusted. Another theory suggested an intruder entered the home while they were sleeping, someone who knew the house, someone who knew how to control the situation quietly. Police also investigated several persons of interest over the years, but none of the evidence was strong enough to lead to an arrest, and the case slowly became colder. More than 3 decades have passed since that night. The house on East Delmar Street eventually changed owners, but the mystery remains. What happened to Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall? How could 3 people vanish from a quiet suburban home without a trace? And why has no one ever come forward with the truth? Somewhere, someone knows exactly what happened that night in Springfield. Someone knows where the 3 women went, and someone has kept that secret for more than 30 years until the truth is discovered. The disappearance of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall remains one of America's most chilling, unsolved mysteries, because sometimes the most terrifying crimes leave behind nothing at all. No witnesses, no evidence, only silence, and 3 women who never came home.